Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Why are we here? I remember now. Okay.
Yeah, you remember? It was a film we watched.
It was a film, yes.
We've come together as friends to talk about it.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, my name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
Is this how the show starts?
Yeah.
This is actually, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm Daniel O'Brien, a guest on this show.
And we just watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm Star-Lord. I formed the Guardians. Met a girl, fell in love. That girl died, but then she came back. Came back a total dick.
Oh, please. He left out some important information, but that is the gist of it.
Mark.
It feels like the sixth Guardians movie, but that's just because of how the Marvel movies work.
Well, yeah. Well, hold on, everybody. Daniel, thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having me. This it's been a long time coming. I remember texting Long Tom a while ago after seeing Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, and I loved it so much, and all I wanted to do was talk to you guys about it, but you'd already done a whole episode about it.
I'm
without
sorry.
me. That's okay.
I know. It
It's-
was really,
it's,
really cold of us.
One of my favorite things about working at Cracked, where we all worked back in the day, is that Monday mornings I could go and talk to you guys about whatever movie came out that weekend, because I knew that I see every movie, and I know that you guys do too.
Yes.
And I've had no substitute for the regular check-in on movies.
It's tough.
It's just your podcast that I listen to from afar.
Do you
trying
reply?
to chime in.
Yeah. That's that makes me feel good to hear. I mean, we could figure out some sort of system, because I delighted in that as well. That was
That was one of my favorite things about working. It's just coming to the office to just shoot the shit with people about whatever we were watching or doing.
It was great
because now I go into the office at my current job at Last Week Tonight. I'm like, hey, did anyone watch Lone Ranger last weekend? No, of course not. No one did. Why would anyone do that?
Why in the world? God, no. Are you okay, man? Why did you do that?
How did that happen? Like on purpose?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of your occupation, do you want to plug anything? You want to tell the world? I mean, I also want to just know what you thought of the Dungeons and Dragons movie as well.
Yeah.
I loved Dungeons and Dragons so much. I went in there knowing absolutely nothing about that world. I've played D&D twice in my life, which surprises people based on my everything.
Mhm.
The first time I played, I got drunk and ruined everyone's time. The second time I played, I had a normal time,
Right.
and it was good and fun. Michael Swaim, our friend, was the dungeon master, and it was good. But other than that, I'm like not in that world at all. So I went into this movie fairly cold, and it fucking owned. It was so much fun. I want a million of those movies.
Me too.
Yes.
Yes.
Just keep making them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want Dungeons and Dragons to be on its 32nd movie, and for Dave and I to be like, oh, we're kind of getting sick of the Dungeons and Dragons cinematic universe. Like, I want that to be.
I want to be drained. Yes,
yeah, I want to be tired of that franchise.
Yeah. And also, you have anything you want to plug? Anything else you want to tell the world? We were trying to do it up top just to.
Sure. So this is where I would ordinarily plug the show that I write for, but right now we are on strike. All of the writers in my union, the Writers Guild of America, we are on strike until the studios give us a fair deal, which they seem reluctant to do. So in lieu of promoting a show that is not paying me well, I will promote, I don't know, libraries. Go to your local library.
Nice.
Get books, use their printers. Have a good time.
I like use their printers is the big draw.
Use their printers. Yeah. Bring some coins with you. They'll let you do the first couple free, but then the librarian starts to grumble about it.
Yeah.
Real dark horse recommendation. Just the general concept of libraries. I'm into it.
I mean, we do need that recommendation right now.
We do,
so,
yeah. As it's going to sound like I didn't enjoy it, but I loved renting the same 6 videotapes from my Oma's library in Lyle, Illinois.
Yeah.
I used to walk my dog down to the local library, and they had that little video section. It was delight. They had a creepy basement, haunted ass basement.
Oh yeah, it's a requisite. Every library has a haunted basement.
Oh yeah.
I had such a blast when I moved to LA. I had no money, and streaming didn't exist yet. So I would just go to the library and get DVDs of old shows and watch them. Like I watched the entirety of Soap just on borrowed DVDs from the library, and it was such a blast, such a blessing that libraries exist.
Yes, I'm pro. Oh yeah, so one more library story real quick. We had I've
got one too, so
okay, we had this video store, right, that was really like, it had a cult section. It had like this place you could get all the weird foreign films, all the
a cult section like John Waters or like the Mansons? Okay.
Probably both in a way. It had a whole Russ Meyer section. Like this, this was a snobbish video store. We've all been to these places, right? An Indian video store that just has a library that you'd never before seen. And obviously, for reasons that doesn't need to be explained, that video store is no longer there. But they donated everything to the local library. So that library has kept this video store alive.
That's pretty chill.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's all. And I'm so thankful for that. It's I believe the Smith College Library in Western Mass has all of these cult classics. Last time I checked, it was great.
That's a all women's school?
It is, yes. It is one of the 5 colleges.
Yeah, that does nothing for this podcast. It's just me showing off a thing I know.
Right. Oh yeah, I've partied.
No, we were really impressed. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Here's my library story. My library story was the rule. The rule for me was I got to get one like comic book, like Peanuts or Garfield or Calvin and Hobbes. Although we usually just kind of bought those books. I got to get one comic book for each like regular book that I got. So that was the rule for us going to the library. Right. So I'd be reading like a Peanuts book and like Cycle of the Werewolf by Stephen King.
Were you? I was wondering what the regular books were. If
it was like Stephen King and Michael Crichton.
That's delightful.
I was a weird little shit.
Yeah.
Looking back, I have always been a big reader, and like looking back, I remember feeling like I was getting away with something when I was like tricking my parents into letting me go to Barnes & Noble and buy a book. Right. I'm sure they were just like thrilled that I was reading. Yeah. But at the time I was like, they're going to let me get 2 Goosebumps books? These fucking idiots.
Yeah.
I'm going to read all weekend. And they were like probably in the back of their minds like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Loser.
Fucking little loser.
It's like your parents like breathe a sigh. Oh, thank God, he's a nerd. Yeah. He's not gonna steal any cars. We're good.
No.
He's gonna sit in this little nerd room and read.
All right, folks. We should probably talk about the movie.
I forgot what show this was for a second. I genuinely thought it was Hypecast. So I thought
welcome back to Quick Question.
All right. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Volume 3.
What did people think of this movie? This motion picture?
I have a lot of thoughts. It's been difficult to keep them all straight in my head. The headline is I liked it a lot. I liked the movie.
Same.
I think I I know there's a lot of Marvel and superhero fatigue. It doesn't happen for me. I like them. I'm very excited for my popcorn movies for idiots. I love them all. They became such a comfort watch for me during the pandemic. That said, I think it was kind of overstuffed.
Okay, yeah, I
agree with that.
I could see that.
I agree with that.
I have extreme superhero fatigue, and I say that only to say that I really liked this movie as well. And my hot take is that the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy is probably currently gonna be the most memorable blockbusters from this time that are based off of not original, but you know what I mean, like the first of its kind movie wise. I think it elevates from Marvel in general because all three movies are self-contained. They made a effort to be self-contained.
Yeah,
that's the best thing about them for sure.
Yeah, and so I think that like I get really bummed about the state of blockbusters in general because it's all we're doing more freaking like Hunger Games and Harry Potters, and it all just kind of I got very cynical about it. Guardians, I think, makes me feel very good about blockbusters, where I'm like, this is where it's at.
I agree. I also really liked this movie. I also have superhero fatigue, but I think Guardians doesn't really feel like a superhero movie to me. It's much more of a Star Wars movie. It's much more of like the spaceship pew pew movies from the 80s. Like I got, especially this one with like all the weird animal aliens on their own planet, their own version of Earth, and all just like the organic technological ship that they were on. There's a lot of weird stuff in this. So I was getting like a lot of like Last Starfighter vibes, like not just Star Wars vibes, but vibes from all of the Star Wars ripoffs. Like, it feels like that genre of science fiction action adventure movie, and I love that so much. And that helps it stand out among the Marvel movies for sure. And I agree that like this trilogy is going to probably be one of the ones that has the best chance of standing the test of time, I think, because like you said, they are self-contained. They're not really superhero movies.
No. And I think a big part of it, and yes, they aren't without their faults. Of
course, there's a lot of Marvel in this that I'm sure we're going to talk about, but
sure. I mean, every movie has issues, but like it, I think a big key part to me is that James Gunn's overall mission when he makes a movie, it seems, is to show people something that they haven't seen before. He is a big fan out of not like we're saying, it is like it feels like Star Wars, it feels like other things, but he still kind of goes this extra mile every movie he does to bring us something that is like just incredibly original. He's at least visually.
He's also, just to piggyback on that, the other thing he's really great at, and it seems to be his mission with these movies, is he's very, very concerned with character. And you can like there's criticisms to be leveled at his dialogue sometimes, but like he cares a lot about characters and character arcs. So he always makes like a good, even if it's not necessarily that complicated or that like complex of a storyline or an idea, he's really good at pulling it off. Like the rocket stuff in this movie fucking broke me.
Oh yeah.
Like holy shit. And that's just one of them. Like they all have I was pleasantly surprised with how he completed each character's arc in this movie. Like particularly like Peter Quill. I didn't expect
I feel like the Peter Quill thing was the most paid by numbers and kind of a letdown. I know like the seeds were certainly there in the first Guardians where he did leave his grandpa, but it was not brought up at all in the first movie, in the second movie, in any of the Avengers movies where Quill showed up again. And they just reintroduced it in this movie, I think, just to pay it off later. It felt a little bit unearned to me.
I have some theories.
Oh yeah?
But
can
Tom,
a quick rebuttal to that. What Quill's been doing, at least in the previous two Guardians movies proper, not counting his appearance in other films, it's like a lot about his search for a dad.
Mm-hmm.
like Yondu in the first one, and then Yondu and Kurt Russell in the second one. And there's the dad stuff is way more overt in the second one. So I think it is there. Like he's been searching for that family his whole life, basically, since he was kidnapped.
That's
but
true.
yeah, I do see that they did sort of completely forget about Greg Henry, his grandfather.
His grandfather.
until-
Yeah, I had forgotten about that character.
He was back on Earth for Avengers Endgame and didn't at any time think like, I should probably go back to Minnesota or wherever.
Right.
Is it Minnesota?
he was no, it was the South.
Was it? Oh,
Yeah, I forget where. I want to say it was like Kentucky or something,
just
but
that
that's probably not right.
He's got Minnesota energy, Quill.
Yeah, he does.
No, I have a theory about, and this isn't like, I'm not saying this in like there was a fight or there was a scandal, but I think James Gunn had to sort of balance out what Marvel was choosing to do. And what I mean by that is like, there was an interview with Taika Waititi about Thor: Love and Thunder, where he was like, I left the goats with the Guardians of the Galaxy to screw with James Gunn, so he'd have to write the goats in. And what did he do in this film? He didn't include the goats.
yeah.
He included tons of animals, didn't include the goats. He just ignored them, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there's some stuff like Gamora, I guess spoilers for the other Avengers movies. Gamora's death, I don't think was something that James Gunn would have wanted to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I think the thing about James Gunn and the Guardians is that like there was some stuff out of his control because everything has to be interwoven, right? That's how Marvel does stuff. So I think that Star-Lord's arc was probably not originally conceived the way it ends. I think he had to work with what they gave him, because like the weirdest thing about this movie was when they show Gamora going back to the Ravishers, and it's like supposed to be like a nice moment. I'm like, who are these
Ravagers,
people?
Dave?
Ravagers.
That felt.
I don't. What did I say? I have a
You
suspicion.
said
of what
you
I
said
said.
Ravishers.
Yeah, no,
Ravishers.
the wrong
Yeah.
word.
Sylvester Stallone is just ravishing.
Yes,
Mhm.
but you
He's
know what I
just
mean, where it's like,
sex appeal just pounding you in the chest and waves
Right.
off of him.
but she has no actual connection to those characters until this movie. So it felt like, oh, she got her arc, but did she really? Because we don't really know her. Like, I think that there was a little bit of like he had to course correct because Marvel decided to kill off that character.
And I do think that's part of what makes this movie seem so overstuffed to me, is that he's serving a couple of different narrative masters, and the movie suffers a bit as a result of that.
Yeah,
I think the biggest problem is Adam Warlock, right? Like he's funny.
Yeah.
Like I like him in the movie. I like that he's there. He's an interesting character in the comics, but boy, he doesn't matter at all. He's confusing. We don't understand who he is or what he's doing.
Right.
He just sort of shows up at the tail end of scenes, usually for a joke. But in the very end, he shows up to save Peter Quill, and then he's just a guardian after that. He is such a baffling character in this movie.
It's absurd. And he is a cool character in the comics. He's like there's like a unique funness to him, because we don't need to get into the comics too deeply, but his whole thing is he's got like Superman powers, but he every time he dies, he comes back to life in a cocoon somewhere else in the universe. And if he doesn't die, he becomes a villain. And it's just like been a really interesting and fun thing for comics to play with for decades that is unexplored in this movie. He's just
he's just a doofus,
a dumb, powerful child.
Yeah, he's just a doofus in this movie.
Right. Without knowing about that in the comics, like he was fine. But now knowing that, I'm like, well, that's its own movie. Like that's a whole thing.
It's a really good
movie.
Yeah.
I feel like there are two at least more interesting movies within this that didn't get explored. One of them is teased a little bit in the beginning with drunk Peter Quill. I thought that would be a fun movie if this entire movie was Peter Quill drunk and dealing with heartbreak, and what happens if Han Solo is drunk and is still trying to be a superhero. That's kind of fun, and they dropped that immediately.
Yeah, that was very weird that they dropped that.
I was really expecting like a Die Hard with a Vengeance, right? Where he's like hungover the whole movie. It's a big
and they
part
just
of it.
didn't. He was just drunk for the first 10 minutes, and then it didn't come up again.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
other
that
movie
was
that I
odd.
thought would have been interesting was I think you could have made this whole movie about Gamora because she is in such a unique position. I don't know, like the Ravager stuff was insane to me. The fact that she is Gamora, but she's not Gamora, and she time traveled, so she's a little bit younger, and it's her sister, but it's not her sister. All of that is very fascinating to me, and I would like to follow her journey, and we just didn't really.
And there's that really interesting, well, one real quick. Sorry, Dave.
No,
It's the really interesting scene that they have when Nebula's cutting her way into like the flesh portal or like the flesh building that they're trying to break into. And they make it into a gag, but Peter, it tells her basically, look, I loved you with all of my heart. And now that I miss you terribly. That he's like, there was something really compelling about that sort of tragedy because he's sitting there talking to the person he misses, but also it's not her.
Right.
So it's like, man, that's like, there's a lot of ideas there. I feel like you could explore that would really,
right.
like, man, yeah.
Ultimately, they did the right thing of not having them together at the end because they're fucking strangers.
I do like that a lot. Yeah.
Yes. However, so now I do have to kind of come down on Marvel as a system. So I picked up, and I won't spoil anything, but I popped on Mandalorian season 3. I had watched Mandalorian season 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I had then expected to know what was going on.
Oh no, you have to have watched Boba
you got to watch that
You have to
unwatchable
watch
Boba Fett show. Yeah.
Yep. And so I got through a couple episodes and I said, oh, I guess I'm not finishing this series. Thanks. Guardians of the Galaxy, like we said, can elevate from Marvel, except Marvel went and killed off one of the main fucking characters in a different movie. And that is very frustrating because if you were to watch these movies in a row, you'd be like, wait, what happened to Gamora? What is this?
Yeah.
And so there's a certain like clumsiness with this third film where they're like, again, it feels like he's doing damage control of like, really funny. They completely fucked my plot. So now I have to like change it.
Yeah. It was very funny talking to my parents in anticipation of, because my parents see almost every movie the same as I do. They just don't retain as much of it, especially with the Marvel films. And they were really excited about Guardians 3. And I remember my mom saying, I wonder how they're going to justify bringing back Gamora. And I was like, well, it's not quite Gamora. It's she time traveled at the end of Endgame into the present timeline. So it's like her younger self. And my mom was like, what? I was like, don't make me explain my stupid favorite movies. It's so embarrassing how much I love these movies. Please don't make me elaborate on them.
It sounds dumb when you make me say it out loud, so don't.
But again, that is also
like,
just going back to
sorry, real quick. It's like when your parents or like it's a more accurately like a friend of your parents would ask you to like explain what a toy of yours does, and then like halfway through, you're like, wait, you're making fun of me, aren't you? I feel like an asshole now. You're making me explain how my fighter jet works and transforms into a guy. Yeah. I was trying to tell you how Optimus Prime works, and you're sitting there like this is a big joke.
The thing about Eevee
is that Cybertron, it's not a joke.
Eevee can evolve into different animals depending on what. Oh, I see. You're laughing. All right. Fuck you.
I'm the asshole. Okay, I'm the asshole. Thank you.
I was going to say another positive of this movie, and I've pointed it out with James Gunn before, is he understands that absurdity and he leans into it. And I really delight in that. He, like, it's sort of like he understands that it's like writing a Marvel film is like a writing prompt where they're like, you have to only use these props and you have to do this and that and you have to like put together a puzzle. So like, I think some movies kind of phone that in. Well, I feel like James Gunn like sees it as a challenge and tries to make it all work. And I appreciate that about these movies. I wish they didn't throw so much at him, which is why, of course, I'm very excited about what he's going to whip up at DC as the person who gets to, look at the big picture.
All the shots. Yeah.
I also feel like an important distinction with the James Gunn side of Marvel is that he is completely unapologetic and unwinking about how weird and surreal these movies are. Like a lot of Marvel movies feel so self-conscious. They kind of have to like lampshade it and say hey, this thing that we're doing is kind of dumb, kind of silly, kind of stupid. You should feel dumb for liking it. And none of the Guardians movies ever felt like that. It was just like, it's a big fucking space adventure with monsters, and it's fun and it's cool, and the stakes are high. Even though, one of the most refreshing things about this movie was that the stakes weren't the survival of the galaxy or the world.
It wasn't a laser in the sky.
Just Rocket. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was really cool.
No, in terms of like, that's what's wild to me about some other Marvel films where it's like, okay, you need a spaceship in this scene, right?
Yeah.
All right, just make like a fucking piece of shit with wings and we're good. Whereas like in these movies, he really thinks like, well, we can do anything. Like even the Guardian spaceship in this looked wild to me.
Yeah.
And so it's that thing of like, he understands that superhero, this genre, especially space, like it's like you can do whatever you want. You can just lean into the absurdity of this.
We're introduced to Adam Warlock, this golden god rocketing through the cosmos while Heart is playing. It's incredible.
Right. And it feels like other movies like try to make these things seem serious. And it's like, no, you can't do this with a straight face.
It can be serious on its own terms, which is what I appreciate. Like what Dan was saying, like this Marvel has a tendency to lampshade, and the example we always bring up is Hawkeye in Age of Ultron, where he's like, I'm shooting arrows at robots, none of this makes sense. Where it's the movie's flying. Right. The movie's telling us, fuck you for liking this. But
but
Guardians gets into all that weirdness without, it doesn't take it seriously, but it also never quite like winks. It's always like, well, this is as serious. It's serious to the characters, but everybody, I know what you mean, but that's the beauty, is that he leans into it in a way of saying like, this is already out of its mind. Why not make it even more? Why not have the audience cry about the death of a spider rabbit? And a walrus on monster truck wheels, which broke my fucking heart.
Yes.
Really?
That walrus.
So here's probably my hottest take or most controversial take. The reason that I, going into this movie, didn't think I was going to like it is I don't care about Rocket. I think Bradley Cooper is a fantastic actor in person. I think he is not a good voice actor, and the character of Rocket has never been particularly compelling to me. And this entire movie is centered around him and his backstory and his future. And the movie survived for me in spite of that. But I just didn't. All the backstory stuff was not. It didn't hit for me, except for the fact that like Marvel is really good at making animals look cute and talking animals being cute, and dying is sad.
I have a question.
Go.
Much like the Peter Quill thing, do you think if they spread the Rocket stuff out throughout the 3 films a little more, it would work better?
Yes, I think so, 100%.
Okay.
Like this movie, it seemed like immediately they were saying, we're going to address Rocket's backstory and where he came from. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that I was supposed to give a shit about that. I've been watching you guys for like 9 years, and I had no idea that this mattered. I thought he was just like a raccoon that someone did science to. And spoiler alert, he was. I'm right. I just didn't need to get all of that stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely a symptom of these movies being a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Like if Guardians was a standalone franchise like Star Wars, like the original Star Wars trilogy, you would probably they would plan it out as its own self-contained trilogy. But like this, it was planned as a trilogy, but like a trilogy within the MCU. So like each installment, rather than continuing its own storyline, was supposed to continue the overall storyline, which I think handicapped it in terms of creating a narrative that ties all 3 films together neatly.
Yeah, Adam Warlock as well could have been in all 3. They sort of allude to him, I think.
They tease him at the end of 2,
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know.
Credit scene.
Probably these things, I think there is this idea of like everyone was written not knowing what the next thing was going to be.
Yeah, so they didn't know.
Yeah, and so like it does make this weird, uneven trilogy where you kind of like you don't get to sort of plan them all out in a satisfying way, where they don't get to have the depth that they should because they're part of a bigger thing that's trying to have that depth, you know?
Yeah.
This feels like DLC for the larger thing where it should be its own thing.
What does that mean?
Downloadable content. It feels like extra. It's like an extra story to the bigger Marvel, where it's like it shouldn't be part of something bigger than it. It's big enough. That's the big, for me, the big tragedy, which is like, I do think this is going to be the thing that really survives from the superhero era. I'm sure other things will too, but like, and the one big problem with it is that it's expected to be part of something bigger.
Yeah. What do you think about, did you stay for the 2 post-credit scenes?
Yeah, I did.
What do you think about?
I only stayed for one of them.
Oh, so has
it the last one
been spoiled for you?
It wasn't the last one, Dave. No, it hasn't been. So tell me what it is.
It's just it's a corny little scene with Star-Lord and his grandpa eating cereal and talking about like very mundane suburban house stuff. Star-Lord might mow someone's lawn, and then that scene ends and it's title cards. The legendary Star-Lord will return. And that's very interesting to me because I thought this was going to be the end of the Guardians lineup as we knew it. And I thought Chris Pratt was out on Marvel at this point. But the fact that he's going to come back is fascinating to me.
Yeah. So
I don't know what that's going to be. Yeah.
It literally could be, because I've heard interviews with people saying similar things. I wonder if Chris Pratt saw that and went, wait, really?
Like, because that's the kind of thing that like they could just do without his permission.
Yeah, or without James Gunn. They could just stick that on the screen at the end.
Yeah.
And they're basically telling him, your contract has like one more film in it. Like, and that's basically what they could be saying. So it's because again, this is all built around contracts too, and that's part of the weirdness, I think. And so like, I'm curious about that. I think I could see a world where they anticipated Star-Lord being a more central character, because he honestly doesn't feel like the main character.
Not in this one for sure.
Yeah, and and so like when he quote unquote died, when he fake died, that
for the
really
third
weird.
Fucking consecutive movie where he died in space.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
so annoyed
very
by that.
fucking weird. And then I was like, oh right, he's in this. Like I had a moment of like, that's weird that he died and they didn't even give him like a goodbye scene. And then they save him and I was like, oh okay. But it's not really his film, so like that scene felt really odd. And then the Star-Lord will return. I was just like, oh sure, I guess. Like
okay.
Yeah, I've been thinking about like Rocket and shit, but yeah, I guess cool. Good for Star-Lord.
I want an end credit scene where they tell me that Drax is going to return, because Drax fucking owned this movie.
Yeah.
Dave Bautista
is really
is
good.
So funny. I can't stand it. I'm so annoyed by how funny he is and how good of an actor he is.
He's
Because
amazing.
he's so strong, and you shouldn't be strong and a good actor. It's not fair.
You get one or the other.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. That's like Kevin Smith's story about meeting Bruce Willis's writer and thinking it was his bodyguard, and he was like, "No, I could be strong and a writer too." And he's like, "Really?
No."
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, Dave Bautista. Did anybody see fucking Knock at the Cabin?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's the best part of that movie.
That movie sucks fucking shit.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
didn't
bad
like that movie.
Okay,
that was actually a hideous movie.
Yes,
I think
but he
has
was
a
great.
terrible message. But
It's a real bad movie.
yeah.
Yes, do not see that movie, folks.
He's great in it, and what's his nuts? Ron Weasley is really good in it too.
Oh yeah, Ron's great.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Batista is. I mean, fucking Blade Runner. Like, I want more serious Batista
with his tiny glasses. If your movie
So
has
good.
Dave Bautista in tiny glasses, it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
It's so funny that the Blade Runner movie was like, man, Dave Bautista is like a huge, like undeniable professional wrestler. What are we gonna do to distract people from that? Let's put these tiny glasses on him.
Yeah,
And as
Worked.
an audience member, I was like, no, he's still huge.
man, he should play
He's
Superman.
still the biggest guy on the earth.
Cast him as Superman, and like no one, like the glasses and stuff, and no one can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It'd be so good. Yeah, no, it's big Drax stuff. The father stuff. The little dildos, all the little kids saying, what did they say? It was like jub jub or something.
Like jub or something.
Jub, jub. I love the payoff where he's like, it means friend, and then you're like, oh, they've been screaming friend at these people. That's great.
He was great. Mantis was great. Mantis was sort of introduced in the second movie as kind of a joke character, like a dummy. And the fact that she spent this movie getting increasingly frustrated with everyone was a really great payoff for her character of just like, no, I'm not a dummy. I'm just nice. You fucking assholes.
Right. And then, of course, she becomes like the most powerful character because of kindness.
Yeah.
Great idea. Like, I love the idea that there's a kind of this arc where everybody's sort of showing their power through the way, like these people who are underestimated sort of proving their worth and their power. It was nice.
I like that. Yeah. Like, I like that. With Rocket, everything we've seen from his sort of quote unquote powers, he can build anything he thinks of, right? But like the thing he builds in this movie is not a weapon; it's a key to break his friends out.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Well said.
Mm.
And he kept it with him. He kept it with him all that time.
Yeah, man. That I did really like the arc they gave him and all the stuff. I liked. Oh, I want to talk about the fucking brutality of this movie. Because I saw at least one article about parents complaining.
This movie is R-rated. This movie is R-rated.
It was good use of a fuck, get in the fucking car
first
or whatever.
Marvel F-bomb. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so excited anytime that happens. I wrote an article for Ranker years ago about F-bombs in PG-13 movies, and it's just something that is like always on my radar whenever anyone uses it. And I'm so happy that it was in a Guardians movie, and it was Chris Pratt specifically. Get in the fucking car.
Yeah,
so good.
Really good.
It was deployed in such a good joke.
Yeah,
like that was a big laugh in the theater that I was in.
Oh yeah, I like any PG-13 movie that reminds families what the limits are. Where they're like, yeah, you can see a guy with his face ripped off. There's no blood. Like it's a nice little.
Oh man, that was fucking
of the MPAA.
Brutal.
Like, Oh yeah, it was.
Rocket ate that dude's face.
Yeah,
it was rough.
Yeah, this is not a kids movie, which again I like seeing that reminded in a PG-13 of like, you're not supposed to bring your kids to these. They're PG-13.
Well, you can, but it's like you have to the PG-13 does mean something. It's
the thing where
be advised.
Yeah, I think people have talked about this in the past. There's been articles about how the PG-13 rating has sort of kind of lost meaning. In that it's just like such a broad rating now, and so I don't know. It was nice to see the R end of PG-13 in a movie like this specifically, because it was brutal. The villain was very good too.
Yeah, should we talk about Chakudi Iwuchi? He was
he's a Peacemaker. He's great. He was great in Peacemaker.
I've only known him from Peacemaker. I don't know.
Yeah, same.
I haven't seen anything else that he's done, and he was great in Peacemaker, and he was great in this. And I really love a Marvel villain that is just a villain. There's no redemption. There's no even hint of like, maybe we can change his mind and bring him to the good side. It's like, no, this guy's just like fucking he's like a classic mad scientist.
Yeah, exactly.
He's evil and he's bad, and we gotta kill him. We gotta get rid of him.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
And we're gonna kill him brutally. People were killed when they skydived with that man. It was like, oh, okay, I guess just we're murdering people.
Yeah.
And you know what? Fine. They're like weird space Nazis. Kill them.
It's such a refreshing change for Marvel that has like humanized all of their villains. Just be like, no, some people are just bad, and this guy's bad, and he's one of them. We got to kill him.
It doesn't humanize all of them, but I do feel like that was becoming a crutch for them lately.
Yeah.
where they kept trying to do Killmonger, where it's like, well, they can't all be Killmonger. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
sometimes an asshole's just an asshole.
Right.
Right.
I really-
Red Skull is just a Nazi.
He's just a fucking
He's like-
Nazi.
Hitler didn't go far enough. All right, we can kill this guy.
Right. That's why I think Thanos really worked, because they did the different kind of humanizing with Thanos, in my opinion, where
Yes.
they show how far he's willing to go and
Yeah.
the mental anguish he will put himself under. So they show that he really feels stuff. He's not human, but he's a realized character
Right.
because of that.
Like,
but he's not good.
right.
He's
He
still
felt like
bad.
he felt like he had depth because of that. But yeah, you're right. It didn't make him sympathetic. It
Right.
was just like, oh,
It,
okay.
it reminded me
was
of like Kratos from God of War, where I was like, I feel like in a different world you could be playing a video game where you're playing as Thanos doing
Right.
this.
You just sort of like, you can say like, oh, I understand where you're coming from. You're wrong, but I get why you think you're right.
Right.
And then meanwhile, the High Evolutionary in Guardians 3 is just like, oh no, you're just like a bad dude. You're like
Yeah.
a bad,
Yeah.
crazy dude.
Yeah.
I'm just
I hope you get killed by cute monsters.
Yeah.
You're doing all the shit you're doing with walruses and rabbits. Totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
I don't know
Real
why
fucked
you're
up
doing
shit.
this.
They
That
blew up
raccoon doesn't need to be awake for this. What are you doing? That's just for you.
Yeah. They blew up an entire fucking planet full of delightful aliens.
Yeah.
They really did. That charming bat couple that helped
Yeah.
them. They're just dead.
Yeah.
It's so
Everyone
funny.
on that planet is dead.
Like- I'm trying to build a perfect society. Yeah, no, I get that part. Why did you put robot arms on an otter though? Those things are unrelated to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, for like batch 89, it just looks like Sid's toys from
Yeah.
Toy Story. And then
Right.
batch 90 is just normal animals. Like, what the fuck happened with batch
Yeah, what
89?
breakthrough
Were you
did you
going
have?
through something? Did you get divorced on batch 89?
Why did you remember pants at batch 92? I don't
Right.
understand.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Fun villain.
He gave batch 89 man, it's like just enough sentience to
Yeah.
like fear death as it happens.
Yeah.
Like, what a maniac. What a glorious
Yeah.
maniac.
I'm going to destroy them. I'm going to burn this whole batch. It's a burn batch, but I want them to be wistful of the sky. I want them to miss the sky.
I want them to have dreams. I want them to be smart enough to have hope so that I can then crush it when I burn them to death.
Ugh.
But he was great. He was such a cool villain.
He was
It was
great,
so
yeah.
fun.
He was.
I loved the turn for him because he was so sweet with Baby Rocket, and then as soon as his creation outsmarted him, he fucking snapped. He lost it, and I loved that turn. I bought that turn
Oh
fully.
yeah.
Yeah, it says a lot without like laying it out. I really appreciated that. It's like, oh, he's got like the God complex, and that, yeah, it snapped his ego when something he made like figured something out that he couldn't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they could, and then everybody kind of turning on him.
Yeah.
It was a good journey where you're like, yeah, now he's truly unhinged and just dangerous, at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good job. Good villain job.
I liked that. That doesn't normally happen in movies like this. In movies like this, like
Yeah.
the henchmen are normally like, okay, I guess we got to do what the boss says. But I did appreciate that he gets to a point in this film where all of his henchmen are like, you got to go, man.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Some of the decisions you've been making this afternoon.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
just hunting a raccoon right now.
Yeah. Take the day, man. Take the day.
What'd you guys think of Bad Dog?
Oh, Cosmo?
Yeah,
Oh, so
that
great.
arc. The bad dog to good dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was fun.
Yeah.
That was that was the arc I felt the most, because I was just like, yeah, I need him to call I'm a good dog. I need that. I need that to be called a good dog by the end of this. And
Yeah,
I knew it would.
it's like the clearest story structure
Oh yeah,
thing you've ever seen, where it's like Act 1, bad dog.
yeah.
Act 3, it's gonna be a good dog.
Good dog.
It's just
Yeah.
we're just waiting on it.
But it was extremely satisfying, I thought. I want
I
more
also
Cosmo.
so I saw Cosmo in the very forgettable holiday special.
Yeah, the
that
Kevin Bacon thing.
The Guardians released. I like that. If you didn't see the holiday special, and even if you did, you still have no idea. Like, it's not clear who Cosmo is or what her powers are, and the movie doesn't really care how much you know. It's just like, hey, there's a talking dog now, and it has some kind of mental powers. Shut up! It's a Guardians movie. Just fucking go with it.
That's the beauty, is that like James Gunn set up this world where like I feel like even other superhero films still struggle with this, where it's like they feel the need to explain shit like this.
Yeah.
And now it's just like he set up a world where you could just have a fucking weird flesh space station. You're like, cool. Yeah. Like
Ragnarok did it well too, where it's just like, hey, I'm Korg, I'm Rox, that's my friend, he's a bug with scissor arms or whatever his thing was, and it's like, yeah, more Marvel movies should be like this. More movies should just be like, hey, that's a talking dog from space. Shut up.
Yeah,
it has powers.
I do think there's a good and bad way. That actually frustrated me in Quantum Mania, and the reason that frustrated me is because it just looked exactly the same as the space stuff, and it was like, I don't know, if you're gonna do it, then like create a new world, I guess. It's weird.
Well, like nothing about
looks just like the space realm. I don't know.
Nothing about Quantum Mania's Quantum Realm felt like it was the microscopic universe. It just looked like Guardians. So.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk too much about this, but the thing about Quantum Mania is that it's bad. It's not a good movie.
It was a real piece of shit, wasn't it? Yeah. That was a real bad movie.
That's the other thing. I this is probably going to do really well, and we're going to get a bunch of takes of like, is Marvel back? And it's like, if they make good movies, that's all it comes down to. Is like, part of superhero fatigue for me, at least, is like a lot of these just don't. They like lean on the popularity. It's just that they're like, we don't have to do too much. And it's like, no, I still want like character arcs and stories that make sense and fun. And I'm sure there's shit in this movie that doesn't add up. I didn't notice because I was just enjoying it. And the reason I was enjoying it is because the characters were well developed and they had clear arcs and like, it was fun.
Yeah. And I think even though like the end credit sequence suggests more Star-Lord, I think this movie benefited because everyone going into it was kind of under the understanding that this is the last Guardians movie, as we understand it, and they didn't have to set anything up. It was still pretty self-contained, and I was just like, this is the last time we're going to see these characters, and we're just going to do a movie with them, and that's it. And more Marvel movies should do that.
Yeah, I actually, so I had I've said this I think in a previous one. I don't think you can have Guardians without James Gunn. I really don't. And my evidence for that is all the other movies that they've had them in without James Gunn. I've always felt like something's missing. I always felt like there was a little, like Drax was like a little too cartoony, or like the jokes were a little off.
Yeah.
And so I do think like they should just move on. I'm begging them, just do other things. Get other creators to make other unique worlds for them, or unique takes. But I don't think someone continuing Guardians is a good idea here.
No, but I mean, spin-offs for sure could be fun. I watched you know what I watched I rewatched this morning Black Widow. Good movie. I think it's a fun standalone thing with low stakes, because at that point in time you already know that Black Widow is going to survive whatever she's going through, and it's just a good film. It's just like a fun movie. You guys are being quiet.
I remember. I'm trying to remember that
I remember liking it fine.
Yeah, I remember feeling bummed about it because it felt like it was too late, where like the end is her like, I gotta go help some friends, and I'm like, I know what's gonna happen to you.
The ending sucks. The ending, her like triumphantly getting on a plane, and we all know that she's gonna fucking eat it after that, is a bummer. But the movie itself is just like a fun,
for sure, in a vacuum
first movie.
Yeah. But I think I remember my take on that movie is that we all know what's gonna happen to her. In fact, doesn't the movie remind us of it?
Yes.
There's a post-credit sequence where Julia Louis-Dreyfus cracks a joke at her headstone while Florence Pugh vows revenge. It's really weird.
It's real weird. I expected the movie to be about like revealing why she had made that choice. like revealing something about her death that we didn't know because they kind of called so much attention to it. That's why it felt like it was a movie that was written like years before.
Yeah.
And they just never shot it. But you're right. In a vacuum, it was a very fun movie. And it
certainly doesn't make sense with the timeline for sure.
Yeah.
But at this point, Marvel has been making Marvel movies for 20 years, 25 years.
Like
and
that.
I like all these characters and I just want to see them like doing stuff. I don't care who's dead or who's alive.
Right.
Just, like give me Star-Lord hanging out in Kentucky or wherever the hell we earlier decided he's from.
That's one of the best things about Marvel, in my opinion, is like, when we had like the Guardians universe and then we had the Earth universe and then for Infinity Wars, it fucking merged and you're like, I can't wait to see like Spider-Man talk to fucking Star-Lord. I can't wait. That to me is like the parts that give me like that rush where I'm like, these fucking dynamic fun characters are going to collide and I can't wait to watch that happen. I don't have as much of that now, because it feels like all those collisions have been made and they haven't set up enough characters, like they're closing out a lot of things as opposed to starting a lot of things with Marvel.
Yeah. And if they push it any further and 2 years from now, it's going to be like, look at this, Spider-Man is talking to Darth Vader. I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be pissed.
Right.
I won't want that. But it does seem like that's possibly where we're going.
It might be.
Yeah. I don't know.
The Guardians are going to meet Han Solo.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be old Harrison Ford, and he will not want to be there.
What do you think about this, Mary Jane? I don't know. Let's ask the Ninja Turtles.
I can see the Ninja Turtles showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Who cares?
Yeah, fuck it.
Who cares?
Yeah, I still don't know what exactly like this. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. It's.
I love that. Growing up with you guys and having very strong, strict opinions about movies, we've all aged into a category where we just feel like, who cares about it?
Right. It's not precious. It's not precious. So just like, whatever. Like, whatever.
Yeah. There was a trailer for the Marvels before this, and I think that I'm excited for that one. That one looks fun.
I'm into that trailer.
I'm excited for whatever. What is that? John McClane and Speed Racer teaming up? Sure. Who cares? I don't give a shit.
It's tough because trailers, it's that I fall into that trap every Marvel movie where I'm like, yeah, I guess that does look fun. And then most of the time I watch it and go, I feel empty.
Did you watch the Ms. Marvel TV show?
No, I don't think so.
I didn't either.
Okay.
I've sort of stopped with the TV. I couldn't.
She is so charming and likable in that show. I think that show is a little uneven, but she is great, and I'm excited for her to do more stuff.
Nice. Yeah. She looked kind of, in the trailers at least, she seems like a natural. She seems like the best part of this.
It is. So this film. Is a thing I wanted to talk about. So there's a thing in the trailer. I think you guys might have even talked about this in Hypecast with Drew, where she recognizes Nick Fury, and she's very excited to see him.
Oh, yeah.
And it sort of breaks the reality of the world, because why does she know who he is? It makes no sense that she recognizes Nick Fury, right? Because he is a spy who is supposed to be dead. So it makes no sense that she is a fan of his. It feels more like a wink to the audience. And the reason I bring it up is because there was another wink to the audience in this Guardians movie that really took me out of it and got me pissed. And it's because it's the last scene in the movie with Rocket and I guess the new Guardians of the Galaxy when they're going to fight those weird animals in the desert. And Rocket says, I'm going to play this song off my Zune. It's really special to me. And he plays Come and Get Your Love iconically from the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie that Quill listens to when he is infiltrating that space and stealing an Infinity Stone. Why does that song matter to Rocket?
Yeah,
right.
He was not
wasn't there for that.
There's no reason for him to appreciate that song. That's just a wink for the audience, and it annoyed me so much.
Oh yeah. Also, if Rocket was there for that, I would still be like, "Why is it special to you?"
Yeah.
That one song you played when you were stealing that thing. Like, it's a weird, that's a big, weird wink to the audience. Yeah. I mean, I barely even noticed it, but you're right.
I think I'm just my hackles are up. I'm prepping a cracked article that I'll never write.
Well, you're right about that. That's the sort of thing.
The audience.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing I'd notice on the next couple watches. But like, I maintain that.
Like, do you remember like X-Men: Days of Future Past when Wolverine did his bone claws and young Magneto was like, just imagine if they were metal.
Oh God,
a fun wink for the audience, but it was like, what a fucking stupid, insane,
what a weird thing to say. Why would you say that, Magneto? Fucking creep.
Imagine if my bones were metal. Why? So you can control them, you idiot.
Yeah.
That sucks. I'm not going to do that.
Who would do that?
Difficult.
Why would you think of such a thing?
I feel like I couldn't go anywhere. Like I'd be too heavy for elevators or my car.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting enough that I have bone claws? Why do you need a hat on this hat?
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're talking about other Marvel movies right now. So.
Yeah, that's right.
We can wrap this up.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it too. I liked it. I want to see it again.
Yeah. We give it 3 golden stars. Our classic rating system.
Wow.
Three dead walruses up.
Yeah.
3 out of what?
Out of 3.
3.
Oh, cool. Oh, huge.
Yeah. It's the maximum number of dead walruses.
Mm-hmm. It's dead. So our rating system is we either give it it's like thumbs up, thumbs down, dead walrus or alive walrus.
Got it.
And we gave it a dead walrus.
Yep.
Tom, who voiced the walrus?
Oh, I don't. I had looked it up before I went to the movie, but I forgot. No, I don't know. Wow.
I'm so reliant on for listeners. Tom has an incredible ability to know what actor I'm thinking of that I can't name based on very limited information. I back in the crack days would just be like, Tom, who am I thinking of? It's not Rutger Hauer. And he'd be like, David Rash. Like, yeah, that's right. That is who I'm thinking of. Correct. So I was hoping you would just like have this walrus voice actor.
No, it's actually, it's a guy I'm not familiar with. Asim Chandri.
Oh,
is his name. He's an English comedian, writer, director, and actor. He's known for the BBC mockumentary series People Just Do Nothing.
Huh.
I'm not familiar with him.
No.
Wow.
Good for him.
But the otter was Linda Cardellini.
I knew that.
Yeah.
which was a strange choice because she already exists in the MCU, and I don't know if
she's Hawkeye's wife. That barely matters.
Yeah.
That barely counts.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've done it. Right?
Yeah,
we did. Yeah.
Yeah. Dan, thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Let's do this monthly.
Sure. Do you want to plug anything at the end? Libraries? Anything else?
Libraries. I have a podcast that I do with my best friend Soren Bowie, who we all know from Cracked. It's Quick Question. You can find us on Patreon. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on the internet. It's believe it or not, less structured than even this podcast.
Wow.
It's we have no direction at all. We just start talking until one of us gets tired.
That's a delight.
A great show. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to plug our Patreon.
That's every show we do too, but yeah.
Well, we're like vaguely around things. That's, but
yeah. You at least have things like definitively that you're going to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We have exclusive podcasts on there. Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys. For $5 a month, you get access to all of that. We watch movies every Friday night with our patrons as well. Bunch of tiers. Check it out. You'll love it.
Yeah. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store. We have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So slap your evolved raccoon peepers onto that.
Mm-hmm. And, you can go on iTunes or wherever and give us all the dead walruses you feel like giving us.
What we should have happen in the MCU is that they team up with the Ninja Turtles, but the Ninja Turtles all look like that Turtle Man that he created in that
Hell
one scene.
Oh yeah, that like for some reason he could accelerate aging, but he couldn't remove violence. That was like the missing piece for him.
Yeah.
It's like, all the things that I make fucking hate the world.
And it was just like a filter he needed to replace in the pipe.
Yeah. That's a am I a mad scientist moment, right? Like that's when you need to be asking that question.
Right?
Yeah,
It's
well,
like,
as
all the turtles
tortoise-
I make want to kill me. Like, I think maybe we should do a different job.
Yeah.
Right, as the 14th turtle is shrieking as humanoid legs explode out of its body, you got to start thinking, am I a mad scientist?
Am I the problem here? I think I might be the problem.